Hello everybody, I'm Aleksi Peura and I'm a writer. Not a professional one, but still a writer. Thus far, 3 of my manuscripts have been or are being released as novels. They are all in Finnish, since I'm a Finn, it's only natural for me to write in my mother tongue. Aside from the 3 novels, I've written around 8 manuscripts that have not been released for being either too shit, seen as unmarketable shit, or just, me not having sent them to the publishers. Also, I do a lot of non-fiction writing, most notably reviewing heavy metal records and hopefully in the not too distant future 200 plus something pages long history book. In this series of video blogs, which I'm calling Let's Write, I'm going to show you how a manuscript and hopefully a novel is born. I'm going to make a short video every week just to update where I recount the process since the previous video, as well as discuss some insights and topics about the creative writing, focusing obviously on lengthy fictional prose. If for some reason I can't make a video every week, I'm going to change the ratio to bi-weekly. Either way around, this series is also going to serve me as a safeguard for not to stop working on the new manuscript. As I said, however, I'm not a professional writer. Not yet, at least. And all the points I'm going to make are my personal opinions and views. Every writer is an individual, and therefore every writer's methods are unique. If you don't agree with me, just don't agree. It's simple as that. Also, I'm not a native English speaker, so I do have an annoying accent, as well as some grammatical blind spots, which I'm very sorry for. Also, I'm sorry about the low quality of the video and audio, but the best camera I have is on my phone. So that's the reason for this guerrilla style cinematography. Anyway, I've been working on a new novel for 3 days. As of this very moment, the manuscript has around 6,500 words, spread around 20 pages. That makes roughly 1,000 to 1,500 words a day. Not much, I know, and I certainly would like to write more words on a daily basis, but since my writing and energy is more limited now than usually it will have to do. Let me tell you, working on a master's thesis is a bitch. I'm not going to say too much about the story, not yet at least, since there's very little to say about it. It's in its early stages, the questions and the themes are just starting to sort of pile up. What I can say is very vague. The story is about 60-something-year-old man recalling about his childhood. I know, very vague. I have a plan and some rough ideas about where all this is going, but as of today it's all still in the future. Instead of talking about a story which still is in its early forms, I'm going to talk about a topic with which I've personally had a lot of issues with recently, and that is, when do you write? When should you write? This topic has 2 sides to it. First of all, during what time of the day should you write? And second, when are you going to have enough time to fully focus on the writing? Let's start with the second one, since that's the one that has a very clear answer, and that being absolutely never. You'll never have enough time to write. There's always going to be something you ought to be doing. Whether you are busy in your regular day job, or you're in the middle of your studies, or whatever it may be, if you're always waiting for the perfect time to write, you'll never be able to get things done. Even if you're lucky enough to have a month off from work and you can manage to fully concentrate on the writing, it's still only 1 month. To get a manuscript done, let alone into stores as a published novel, it's going to take more work than you can ever manage in a month's time. Yes, you certainly can write a manuscript in a month. My personal record is 13 days, but it's not finished, it's just the first draft. Before you can even think about approaching the publishers, you ought to have the manuscript at draft 2, 3 or 4. And let me tell you, the jump from the first draft to the 4th, is a long one. Sorry, I'm studying history and numbers are not my thing here. Even though you'll never have the perfect time to write a book, you shouldn't just force yourself to keep working on it, keep writing a novel in all circumstances. This is a point in which I'm arguing against perhaps the biggest writer around, and that being Stephen King, who said in his memoir/writing guide on writing that you ought to write 1,000 or more words 365 days a year, every day of the year. And well, if you want to become a professional writer, to paraphrase King, you should just keep on, hammering away every day, every single day. In theory, this is a great advice, and I do agree that when you're writing a story, short story, novel, whatever, you really should write on a daily basis. That's true. But for me and many others, this takes a lot of arranging to get around to. If you're working full-time in a, let's say, office, and you have kids or spouse or life generally, finding 1 hour, let alone several hours, every single day is going to take a lot of work. It's not easy. You have to arrange your personal timetable and everything. But if you're determined, yeah, it certainly can be done. The point I'm trying to make comes from my personal experience. When I was trying to follow King's advice back in early 2014, I was working full-time in a library, and I had a lot of going on in my personal life as well. And basically I had a lot of on my mind. Yet desperately I tried to keep up with the 1,000 words per day pace King had suggested. It nearly drove me to a writer's block. And since I couldn't focus on the story enough outside the 1 hour of writing, I somehow managed to conjure up every evening. Because when you're working on a novel, the story, its themes, characters, moods, everything, are supposed to be on the back of your mind all the time. Not only when you're actually writing, but outside that as well. This is what I'm calling a thinking time. You need enough thinking time to be able to keep a strict leash on the story you're working on. If you're too occupied with everything else, you can't spare enough thinking time for the story, and eventually you'll hit a wall, and the story and your writing become stagnant before dying out completely. Trust me, it has happened to me several times, and it's certainly not pleasant. My personal way around this problem has been to work on a novel when I know I can spare enough thinking time for it, and other times I'm still keeping up with the daily quota of writing with my other shorter projects, blogs, reviews, whatever. I've heard of other writers who keep a journal to keep a pen sharp, as they like to say, and so that's one way to do it. The important part is that you'll need to practice. You'll need to write to become a better writer, and to keep the skills you've accumulated at their top form. When you have enough time to write the novel of your dreams, you don't want to struggle with producing the words for a Word document. Whatever the medium of choice it may be, keep on writing. Keep producing text, and eventually you'll have a long enough break from everything else to work on your main project, whatever it may be. The other question I posed was, at what time of the day should you write? To this there is no ultimate answer. As I said in the beginning, every writer is an individual, and every individual has personal preferences. Someone is at the top of his or her game in the early morning, some like to work during the darkest hours of the night. My advice here is to listen to yourself, listen to your body and your mind, to find the optimal time for you to write. When you've found it, try to create a daily routine where you have time to write during your daily zenith of creativity. Alright, so that's it for today. Comments are welcome, as well as subscribes, follows on Twitter, and likes on Facebook. So the links are somewhere down below in the description. I hope to see you next time. But till then, keep on writing, keep on being productive.